When you're already one of the world's leaders when it comes to producing no-code data warehouses, how do you ramp things up to that next level to make sure that consumers are getting exactly what they need? Well, that's the conversation that we're having today on the Data Radio Show. Hello there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Data Radio Show. Sam's actually going to be sitting down in a moment to have a chat to Konsta and Tuka from DSharp. They're a Finland-based studio that builds data warehouses with no code. They do it absolutely brilliantly, world leaders in their field, but they felt it was time to up the game a little bit and find something helpful, a new tool that might be able to aid them and their clients. But I'll let them get into that in a moment. Before then, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, or feel free to share the video. Right, now let's jump over to Sam and Konsta and Tuka and learn a little bit more about the new tool that they're launching to help with their no-code data warehouse builds.
So hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking with our colleagues at DSharp about their new functionality that they're delivering in DSharp Studio. I guess, Consta, I'll let you do the reveal, talk a little bit about what exciting upcoming developments there are.
Yes, thank you for the invitation, Sam. I'll gladly introduce it a bit. We are announcing bringing out an AI assistant for the DSharp Data Studio. And this assistant allows the users to make reports straight out of the data warehouse once they have created the data warehouse with our software, starting with a conceptual model and generating all the needed data warehouse code out of that. And once you start utilizing the assistant, you can create the reports without having reporting or analytics solutions attached to the data warehouse. Of course, you can and should have those also there. That is like the main thing about the new release.
Okay. And let's take a moment to introduce Tuka. What's your role, Tuka, in this exciting new announcement?
Well, I'm head of software development in DSharp, and also head of head developer doing testing and designing and testing and everything.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, great. So Consta, maybe you can talk a little bit about the pain points that you were observing and some of the process, if you like, of how you've thought about how AI can help solve those pain points.
Yes. Yeah. The main pain point we are addressing is of course kind of like the time to value, time to report in getting reports, new reports out of a data warehouse. So if you are in analytics or reporting, then you might get quite quickly new requests for certain kind of reports that combines data that has potentially not previously been combined and reports that haven't been generated previously. And that might be kind of like a quite quick time frame. So giving the report analytics guys the opportunity to get the report straight out of the data warehouse, at least like some kind of a draft for the report and how it would work, helps then get them faster done. From the side, from the management side, or the ones that use the reports, then of course they have the opportunity to get insights on new things, a combination of data that hasn't been combined previously, kind of faster. It might not be the end reporting. It doesn't look necessary like the end version of it, but you can kind of like try and test it and see if it's doable, if it brings you some value that you get out of there. So the pain point is mainly time to value, time to report, shorten it down, give more room for experimenting, kind of like thinking about how we could utilize all the data that we have.
Yeah, I can imagine it can be quite frustrating getting a set of requirements the afternoon before they're needed, and you have to build an entirely different or an entirely new model to be able to extract those insights. What about on the other side of things in terms of building data models and actually transforming those data models into data warehouses?
Yes, that's the key point of our software, how it works. Do you, Tuukka, want to elaborate on that, how that works?
Yes, everything is based on conceptual modeling. Like you draw a model with simple UML entities which represents the organization or the process or whatever. Like what do you have in sales or anyway, it's the language of the business. And when that conceptual model is built, it is the data warehouse is built based on that, like generating code. And the underlying data warehouse is always similar to each other. So we have common metadata and structures. And the point is that those who are designing their business, they don't have to know anything about the implementation, or they don't need to implement anything, almost anything. It's a very low code solution, so to say.
Okay. And from what have been some of the early feedback that you've had from clients?
Regarding our software or this new feature,
Correct. Yeah.
well, we have not demonstrated this new feature yet, but overall, about using the software, they are very pleased since it's highly usable and very productive when compared to that you would be creating all those data structures by hand or putting up that orchestration code and procedures. You just don't have to dust it. Just model and do the mappings from the actual data to your model.
Okay. And I imagine that many data engineers and data professionals would be somewhat skeptical around the use of an AI assistant, if you like. What from the point of view of risk and engagement with large language models using generative AI, how have you approached de-risking some of the use of AI with the DSharp Studio?
Well, it's constant evaluation, and the thing that we are building would be currently called like a multi-stage pipeline. Like there is not a single LLM, but several tied together, and each of them is specialized to do one thing and one thing only. Like one is a chatbot that is querying user intentions, etc., and chatting, and one is building SQL scripts, and one is building those reports. And by that is the simplest way to uh, modularize those things so that you can do very specific things. And of course, it must be very well scripted, and every prompt must be evaluated and constantly evaluate the throughput. Well, so it's non-deterministic by nature, so you have to make it somehow deterministic.
Okay. From the point of view of, let's say the EU AI Act, how how have you taken into consideration some of the guardrails or requirements around the EU AI Act in terms of the way that you've gone about incorporating AI into DSharp Studio?
Well, it's at the moment we're in so early beta that those are not in the implementation, those are not considered. Of course, they have to be, especially and when they are testing the data. But there is one thing that the AI is not actually never mingling with the data, actual production data. It is just generating SQL that loads the data, and LLMs can access only the metadata of the database, like table structures and descriptions and glossary from conceptual model. So there should not be any risks that a LLM messes with the actual data.
Hmm. Okay. I realized that was a little bit of a curveball question, but I thought I'd just see to what extent you had an answer to it. A bit of practice, shall we say, for the webinar. Consta, is there anything else that you would want to kind of surface in terms of what the value proposition is, either to existing or new DSharp Studio clients?
Yes, and maybe a bit elaborating also of our use of the AI parts, because like the reason that we are able to utilize AI in generating reports and utilizing the data warehouse stems from the fact that we have all the metadata in place and it's very organized. Basically, the data within the data warehouse is quite organized, so it's possible to kind of like get the AI to find the links between the things so that we get a relevant result. If you would utilize it on a more or on a less organized data platform, then kind of like the end result would not be as good at all. And in that way, kind of like the way of building the data warehouse very structured based on your conceptual model, you are able to modify your conceptual model how it is needed, and then generate the data warehouse, the code in practically a couple of seconds out of that model. So if you want to make changes to your conceptual model and kind of like potentially the metadata or the mappings, what data it utilizes, you can do that quite quickly and then prepare the data warehouse to be kind of like for whatever new needs you have, considering, for example, the AI application. So that's kind of like a big thing for AI to work properly. You need the data quite organized, prepared, and so on. And that is what we achieve in utilizing it in this way. So that's kind of like a big point I wanted to just point out a bit more. Yeah.
I guess from my experience of even looking at prompting and prompt engineering, if you're familiar with, the French style of cooking, there is this concept which is called mise en place, which is everything in its place, and you go through a process of preparing all of your ingredients and having everything ready to go in order to assemble a dish. And I guess there are many parallels in the way that you bring a data pipeline into being and make sure that it's functioning well. I don't know whether you have any comment on that.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of French cooking myself. Uh, Mostly the eating side, but then you have kind of like you have the basic French sauces, which are then varied into various other ways. So it's kind of like that you have the basics prepared like on the mise en place kind of like way, and then you have everything ready there, and you can cook something out of that. So it goes well with that in a way. We need to work maybe on that still a bit on the on that figure. But how would you do you Tuukka want to say elaborate a bit more like how our way of doing kind of prepares us to utilize AI?
Yes, that mise en place is actually quite good analogy. Since in order to LLMs work properly, they need good quality data and good quality instructions. The better they are, the better the outcome is. So with our model of doing, we have very well structured metadata and like glossary descriptions, etc., and already know the connections between the concepts, like what are the main entities, how they are related to each other, and so on. And that's how the LLM work with these relations. So it's relatively easy to produce simple queries and find the data that users actually want. And after that, the generating reports and author is just an engineering problem. Of course, it's somewhat limited, but it's still much faster than do those by hand.
I guess it becomes more like a production line as opposed to bespoke environment every time. Okay, Consta, is there anything else that you would want to share with listeners and viewers?
Yes, please join us the 18th of this month for the webinar. We'll dive a bit deeper into what AI can assist us in data warehousing, data platform, and reporting, and probably also a sneak peek on the other AI functionalities that we have already brought in or will bring into our software, and kind of like general discussion how it changes the landscape of reporting. We'll dive a bit into that too.
And that date was again the
18th.
At what time?
At 2 p.m. East European Standard Time, so depending where you come from.
Excellent. That's all good. All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, Sam.
Hey, I want to thank Sam, Tuka, and Consta for sitting down and having this conversation for us. It was really fascinating to see the tools that are coming into play and how AI can help with these things in ways that the layperson might not necessarily know, and people working within the industry are really, really keen to see how this works out, how it's going to be implemented. You can learn more about it from DSharp themselves. You can check out their website, which is, I think, dsharp.fi. And you can always head over to the school classroom, sign up over there and have a chat to them directly, learn a little bit more that way. It's all linked down in the description below. Until next time, look after yourself, live long, prosper, be one with the force, and we will catch you all next time.